Hello. I noticed that this is how I say hello, so that's going to be a thing now. We spoke about what it means to be asexual and understanding asexuality basically in the morning, and we will now speak about how one can navigate their own asexuality. And we're going to take the conversation a step forward. And I'm going to be speaking with Tej, who is a dear friend, who is a journalist and a mental health researcher. So I'm very excited. I'm usually like, these are the two words that I use, like excited and amazing. But hey, like, I love what I do, and that's how it's going to be. Thank you so much, Harshita. I also like wore a denim jacket in the Bombay weather because like Aishwarya promised me that this would mean that I will have all the luck with the ladies. So like, let's see. This will be a social experiment. Going to add Tej. They are here. This is like the awkward. Hi.
I love the whole denim jacket theory, and it says Star Wars. It's so cute.
Right now, all the ladies better like hit me up on my DMs.
I know. It's like such a bi thing to do, like to advertise that you're bi and then specifically call for the ladies.
Right? It is.
You have to let them know I'm bisexual, guys. Like, I know I'm dating the boys, but then I also go for girls, and then if you're non-binary, that's okay too.
Yeah.
So much assurance has to be constantly given out.
Right?
Did you cut your hair?
How have you been? Yeah, I did. I did cut my hair. Yes.
So cute. You look so
I
good.
call it the bi bob.
So much bi vibes coming our way. It's good. It works.
How have you been? I know you're doing
I've
some
been
London
good.
town.
Yeah, I am. But I'm also taking it easy. Like I keep telling you when you're chatting. I'm just
Yeah.
like allowing myself to daydream or like even night dream. I just sit on my terrace for hours together watching the moon these days. And
Yeah.
that's nice. How are you?
I'm well. I have just been like overworking, but I think that's how I am coping. And I'm not going to judge it too much right now. We are also, yeah, in the middle of a global health. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And whatever works for everyone.
Right. Yeah, like nothing's better or worse. I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
sure. Like I hope everyone's getting help and whoever can
yeah.
afford it. But yeah. In whatever capacity, like communities can be very healing. Um,
True.
what the life that you enjoy can be very healing. Twerking can be healing. So like whatever is your thing, man. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. True. I agree. I
You
fully
so
agree.
much for like wanting to have this conversation with me, and you and I have like on and off kind of spoken about what it means to be asexual, and we also like that, you know, in our conversations we spoke about sexuality gatekeeping, and we spoke about how, you
Yeah,
know, how like within the community as well, like there are XYZ things you need to fulfill in order to
yeah.
be a bisexual, an asexual, or whatever, right? Um, and also like the erasure that exists within the community, especially with regards to asexuality, wherein they say that like,
Yeah.
oh, you're asexual and therefore you cannot be queer, which is so
Mhm.
strange, so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
so we spoke a little bit about it in the morning where we spoke about what
Yeah.
asexuality. Also spoke a little bit about how can one figure whether they're asexual or not. Now,
Yeah.
assume somebody has figured that they're asexual, right? Um,
Yes.
right?
Finally.
Right? You figured, you know that you're asexual. At
Yeah.
least today you know
Yeah.
that you're asexual. Then,
Yeah.
I mean, in the light of like so much violence, in the light of like so much erasure, and
Yeah.
so much stigma that is associated with asexuality, because obviously, like sex sells, and that's something that you hear about everything.
Right.
How do you navigate that? Like,
Yeah. So just this morning, I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's AIDS Awareness Week. So I guess a lot of AIDS groups on Facebook have been talking about what it means to be AIDS. And of course, some says you have to be completely asexual in the sense you shouldn't have like to talk about sex, or you shouldn't like to even like acknowledge the existence of sex around me, and that's what it. And I kind of understand where that's coming from because there is so much erasure, like you said, that after a point you want to be. I constantly see that. I'm like, I want to explore, I want to be explored. There's also the male gaze, on all of us who are AFAB. There's also the
Yeah.
male gaze where we want to be seen as beyond a sex object. And
Yeah.
especially when we're just like, forget fucking sex, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think a lot of rage comes from there, which I understand. But there was somebody who posted on, so there's this group called Non-Vanilla Aces, which I love because I'm a non-vanilla ace.
Love it.
And yeah, and the group, somebody posted saying that, listen, I love sex and I love the idea of having an orgasm, and I do orgasm. And I'm just not as driven towards having sexual encounters or interactions. And I don't experience it that often or much. And she was just checking, and she was like, I hope this group does not. She's like, I've already left a few groups where there's a gatekeeping going on, but I hope this group is more, open to it. And everybody, because it's a non-vanilla age group, it's very openly, pro BDSM and kink. And
Yeah.
BDSM is not inherently sexual. BDSM is all about navigating each other's boundaries.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it was beautifully put. And then everybody was like, "Don't worry, you're valid, and we're listening to you." So that's the thing about asexuality. It is a spectrum, but calling yourself asexual can also be the extreme end of the point on that spectrum.
Right.
And most people don't understand it. I remember, so I'm someone who's asexual in the sense I'm gray sexual, probably, if I have to again to put another layer of terminology to it, where I felt sexually attracted to somebody over the past few years, and it was a complete revelation to me. I didn't know I was capable of that.
Right.
But yeah, and like I think Ashwita spoke this morning, they said that you need to draw the distinction between aromantic and asexual because
Right.
lots of people can experience romantic relationships and romantic attraction, and it has
Right.
nothing to do with sexual encounters or even friendships. You can romanticize a friend, for
Oh my God.
instance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's just so much to it. And I remember when I felt that attraction, I was trying to tell my friend, I was like, I'm really attracted to this person. And my friend was, for some reason, the first question that my friend asked was, so do you agree that you're not asexual anymore? And I'm just like, is that what is going on in your head? Can we talk
Can
about,
me that like I'm experiencing these
yeah,
feelings would fall
yeah,
into as allosexual. Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. And I was just like, it's farthest from my mind. The terminology is on most days it's farthest from my mind, right? We need to be able to live in the present instead of completely just like validating ourselves through popular terminology every minute. Isn't that
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
is important at the end of the day? To be at home with how we are and who we are and what we're feeling. These terms just allow us to connect with each other and find a community because we have
Correct.
been told too long that we are not normal.
Correct.
And, it helps us connect. But beyond that, you don't necessarily need to kind of. And I think we had the conversation about your feeling like that as well. I was like, if it helps you feel connection, isn't that what you want in that moment?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
isn't that
Yeah.
the beauty of it? To be able to connect with
Absolutely.
other people and share an experience. So I
Yeah.
don't know if
Yeah.
I answered the question. I feel like I meandered a lot, but
No, I really love what you said because I read a post about how, like, if you feel asexual and you identify as asexual in response to some kind of an extenuating circumstance where, I mean, maybe it's abuse, maybe it's like medication, whatever, your asexuality is still valid. You're just as
it is.
valid as a who's felt
Yeah.
asexual their life or who's had to fight really hard to have their identity as an asexual person recognized. And this is a conversation you and I had about, especially with the
Yeah.
gatekeeping, where
Yeah.
what you said and which you said now again was that you understand that gatekeeping when it comes from within the community because they fought for so long and they fought
Yeah.
so hard to be seen for who they are. And along
Yeah.
comes a person who says, "Oh, I feel asexual today," and that can be quite, yeah,
It can be
disconcerting.
a growth. Like it's just you get defensive about it a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very human, right, to respond to trauma that way. When you face someone's trauma, you want, I feel like it's a little spills over in your interaction with from there. Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, absolutely. And the second part, which I would really like your opinion on, is like within the community where a lot of people say how asexual people are not queer and cannot be queer, because
Yeah.
somehow like your queerness is just the sex you're having or not having, it seems. I did not get the memo.
Yeah.
Yeah, what have you to say about that?
I have. I mean, I, I I actually did a sort of like a series of posts speaking to people about asexuality. I don't know if you read it, but I did it about 4 or 5 years ago when I first started kind of exploring that aspect about my personhood. And
Yes, for
I'm
me,
sorry.
within like such a journalist move, like getting people together,
I
having
know.
conversation about something that you're experiencing in your life.
Yeah. I'm like, well, tell me more about this, Yeah. So I did that, and that's when I realized that LGBTQIA plus denoting that there are probably other ways in which people are queer, which we don't know about. And queerness is kind of being imposed on us by law. So we don't know who else is feeling othered by law, to be honest. And A is about asexuality. It's not about allies. I don't know why that is even a
Oh, very
concept in any.
strange. Yeah.
Why do allies have to center themselves in our narrative? I'm just like, yo, no. You'll explore, you figure it
Yeah.
out. Feel join us. Else just support us from outside. Why do you have to be in every group?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so, I mean, I think we're queer just by, I think I'm queer just by being asexual. I'm also bisexual, which I realized again much later. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't think it's debatable. I don't think queerness is debatable. All of us do. I think queer is an umbrella term which we can all adopt, and then we can figure out how we're queer. That's a safe space. Once you have the safe space, you can probably say, okay, I feel queer in this way, in that way, with respect to my gender, with respect to my sexuality, whatever
Right.
else. But
Right. Right.
to put that, yeah, I just feel queerness is a safe space, and I welcome everybody to feel queer.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, I love that. Uh,
yeah,
so I love that you spoke about how your asexuality in whatever capacity, whatever it looks like for each person is valid. But like if
yeah,
everybody is constantly telling you you're invalid, how do you navigate that? What do you do in a situation like I love that this person that you mentioned came to the forum and just advocated for their needs, right? Like they were like, hey, I hope this is not one of those spaces where like you're going to make
yeah,
me feel like I'm sexual enough. And that's a
yeah,
wonderful. Sure, not everybody has that kind of like comfort in being
yeah.
able to say like that. So how does one navigate their asexual identity in the light of all of this violence and invisibilization?
Yeah. One of the ways in which it can be violent is, for instance, therapy. Therapy need
Mm,
not always be a safe space because there are therapists who don't necessarily understand this. Yeah. So, certain therapists have told me that I have suppressed or repressed my sexuality and things like that. And yeah, I've heard that, and they're like, maybe you faced some sort of sexual violence in your childhood, and you're just burying that memory away, which it is very anxiety inducing for me. I'm just like, what is this memory that I've like tucked away, and I can't even like remember, and how am I going to remember after years of therapy? So I think. And also, I told my friend asking me when I told her I was attracted to someone. The first question was, "Oh, so you're not asexual anymore?" And I'm just like, y'all need to focus on my experience, not
mm,
about me living up to some tag. You know,
mm.
it's that what human relationships are about. They're messy, they're confusing, and you don't really have straight answers to everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know why anybody needs to feel that pressure. If they're feeling pressure, I think that maybe they need to address the source of that pressure if they can. Like if it's a
Mm,
relationship of equal for you, let the other person know, saying that I don't appreciate this sort of pressure.
mm,
So maybe you should check yourself. If I
mm.
pass certain thing, I've qualified it for myself. I don't need to keep checking, and I don't need to checklist every day. Like, am I AF? Yeah, today, tomorrow. That's not how it works. We need to
Yeah.
go ahead with our life. So,
Yeah.
or is it something from a power with a powerful person, like a therapist? I don't know. Sometimes therapists can feel powerful, like they know all the terms and they know what's going on in your head when you come. But you can communicate with the therapist, and sometimes you just can't. You just need to, I don't know, cut off people for a while or take a step back. Or with the law, I don't know what to do. I'm just like, what is the way to navigate law and communicate, your boundaries to the law? So it's
Oh, wow.
constantly,
I never thought of it like that, like your boundaries with the law. As a queer person, that's so powerful to hear.
yeah. The law is always violating our boundaries,
Yeah, oh my
but
God.
yeah. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
It's I think we all need to stand up and think of how we're doing it, but I don't think there's one specific way in which we can do it, right?
Hmm,
We really have to
hmm.
understand where the source of that.
Yeah, yeah. And I also love the bit that it's not about like being ace is just a part of your identity. It's not
Yeah.
your entire
It's
identity.
not true,
Like, but
yeah.
yeah, if I were to ask you to introduce yourself, you're not going to be like, hey, hi, I'm an asexual person. Like, I mean, some people could have power to them, but often that's not
Yeah.
not things that you say to somebody, right?
Yeah.
And so to realize that like yeah, there's more to your identity and to like build on those aspects
Yeah.
as well, quite empowering. Yeah, so somebody in the comments also asked us about like being kinky and being
Yeah.
into BDS and like being ace. How does that work out? You mentioned a little bit about how okay, so like kink and BDSM aren't necessarily about the sex. They're more about like boundaries and power and all this good stuff. So
Yeah.
if you could tell the audience a little bit about is that possible? Is that okay?
That's
How did
absolutely
you start
possible.
exploring, thinking about it? It's also Kinktober, so I mean it's over. It's November
Yes.
now, but
I remember
yeah,
your thing with Meetup, yes.
yeah, right.
Um, Meetup or Meetup? Is it like Hindi word or is Sab in?
I'm sorry, say
What
that
is the
again.
handle? Is it meme stab or meme stab? What is the handle? I'm
Uh,
sorry.
yeah.
Meme stab
Means
like the Hindi word. Okay. Sorry, what is the question? Now I forgot the question. The kinky race thing. Yeah.
yes, yes.
So, yeah, BDSM, like sex has been such an arena for power play. We also talked about that, about how sex has been like obscured and
Hmm.
completely like put behind this mysterious veil and said it's only for procreation. There is only this tactical side to sex, and only what is natural sex is only heteronormative and stuff. So,
Hmm.
BDSM is seen as an extension of sex. Whereas BDSM is not an extension of sex, it is a way of interaction between two people. And sometimes some of us have that kind of, in a lot of intimate relationship or a lot of intimate equations, we are used to some sort of a power play.
Hmm.
And BDSM is just a safe way for us to express that. It
Hmm.
turns sexual,
Hmm.
but only with consent. It doesn't
Yeah,
have to.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the long short of it, but
I
that's
love
how I
that.
see it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So they
so
also
I think that,
asked the online community for kinky aces. So
yeah.
if you could, share that with, I mean, I don't know if it's safe to share that
Yeah,
with the public.
it's on Facebook. It's called non-vanilla aces.
Uh, Love it.
You want me to write it down? I'll put it down.
Love it. Love how tech
Non.
savvy sit back and like let you take charge.
There you go.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. So I think like what I got from the conversation with Aishwarya in the morning and this conversation with you is basically that there's no one way to be ace. And
Yeah.
you can enjoy like sex. You can have sex even
Yeah.
if you're ace. And there is definitely a difference between asexual and aromantic. But something that we
Yeah.
kind of touched in the morning, and I would like for you to maybe comment on that a little bit, is
Mm.
so there's also this notion that if you're not asexual and if you're not aromantic, then what does dating look like for you? How do you what do you do on a date?
It's just like everybody else is. We're all figuring out. I mean, I don't know how it is for other people, but I don't go into a date and be like, is this someone I want to sleep with? That's not how I measure up a date. It's
Hmm.
also about if I just generally enjoy being around with that person and I don't know, we have the same tastes, if we can spend more time together, I'm bored out of my mind with them. Can I establish some sort of intimacy, honesty, trust, respect with them? Can I open up to them? And yeah, those things. Whereas if I want like just sex, I mean I can do that too. Sometimes still feel I I might feel sexual arousal without feeling sexual attraction, which is what I think one night stands are. I don't know how others are doing, but that's what it means to me. So I'm like I can engage in that as well, right? And yeah, I mean if it's not working for me, I mean I feel like it's harder. I mean it's easier for me to say no, quote unquote easier, because I'm like I'm not enjoying this. Plus I'm not attracted to you, so let's not. So for me, the like the pursuit of pleasure and such an interaction for me is very cut and dry. It's like I need to. That's why I'm here. I'm here for the pleasure. I'm not necessarily here to. I don't know. Yeah. But one topic that you texted me about this morning was also about coming out as ace, which I wanted to talk about. I've read this so many times. Like coming out for me is a very problematic concept. I don't like the idea of coming out because I have other things to do. I can't just be like, I can't have rituals. I come out as ace. I come out as bi. It is just like, guys, just move on with your lives. And I read this quote this morning that said, if a flower is not growing, you alter its environment. You don't all change the flower, if you want the flower to grow. So, yeah. So if you want ace people to come out to you and let you know that they're ace, just create an ace-friendly atmosphere. Be a good friend. Be accepting of all that's people, and don't import your views on them or project your ideas of I don't know how they should be on them. And that's about it.
Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. And I mean, I think coming out when it's something that the person owns and like it's a it's occasion.
It's a power move for them.
Yeah, that's fantastic, right? And also, like, I mean, I guess for trans people, maybe it's not so much of an option times, like in order for their identity to be validated, of course, like they out in certain spaces. But beyond that, like you're so right in saying that, what is this like coming out business suit? And straight people never come out. Like,
I know. Why did you assume I was straight? Kind of upset about that.
Yeah, all my straight friends, you better like come out to me today, okay?
I know. Are you straight? Because I'm not assuming that about you. Not just you, but anyone. Yeah.
Straight, so y'all are like that only. You want to have like a straight pride parade, but you don't want to come out. What is this?
Yeah. Absolutely. That's how I feel.
Yeah. So basically, like, there's no one way to be asexual, and find your community, find your tribe. It's easier said than done, but yeah, we'll be fine. And I hope that we continue to have these conversations about asexuality beyond the asexuality awareness, Aces Awareness Week as well. And
yes.
I mean, it's important to have these.
You got cut off. Sorry.
You're not. You're back. Yeah. Sorry. Fine. Technically. Yeah. No. So I was saying how like it's important for us to have weeks like this, but at the same time, like the conversation shouldn't end here. And yeah, hopefully we'll catch up again and we'll talk about something else. Because I just like our Insta DM conversations need to be on lives now, and everybody should have access to them. So yeah, thank you so much.
One more topic now is, and I'm so glad we did it.
Yeah, I'm so glad we did it. We're also internet friends. We've never met in real life, so
I know, but we'll get to it. Once this pandemic and all is over.
all people are in Bangalore, so I need to get there. Yeah. Are you going back?
Not back yet, but I'll probably go in a few months. I don't know. I told you I'm so lost. Like there are no train tickets. I don't know how people are traveling. I can't be booking another cab and all. It's just too much stress.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of the weekend, whatever that means anymore.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.